I was very keen on making a big kind of space simmy game, you know, kind of like in the old what they call like Star Citizen, Privateer, EVE Online, Elite was the original one back in the 80s. I actually went to work for the guy that made Elite. This was like my first and only job out of 9 to 5 kind of job out of university. Kind of wanted to go help him make the new version of Elite, and then actually they weren't doing that. But it was something that I wanted to do. And in order to make the game, I decided I needed a new language. This is a hole that many a programmer has fallen in. It's like, I'm going to do this project, but first, to do that project, I'm going to make a new language. And it's like, inevitably, you get like a third of the way through writing the new language, and then you lose interest in the project, you lose interest in the language. And it's
How many new languages have you created in your life, Gav?
A few.
Okay.
I wrote this new language, but it was actually a really interesting one. It was a language workbench, which is still a relatively novel concept. There are very many examples of them. But basically, it's a programming environment where you don't program in normal programming environments, you program in text, right? So you literally type out reams of text. I mean, it's symbolic. It's like, but it's all like typewriter text. Parentheses, like alphanumeric numbers, letters, dot, comma, semicolon, right?
Sure,
it's all very like you've got the, you know, when you're writing an email, like you have the formatting turned off and it's just typewriter text. Yeah. No smileys, nothing. And my idea was, well, let's not limit ourselves to just typewriter text. Let's instead allow for really rich display and input. So basically, like if you use Microsoft Word, you don't type in typewriter text. When you type, it's like kind of how it will appear when you print it out, right?
Yeah.
This was a novelty when it was called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Right? It was a novelty in the early 90s. If you wind back to like the mid 80s, people didn't type like this. They typed in what now looks a little bit like Markdown or HTML. They actually typed in kind of lines of just typewriter text without any kind of formatting. The formatting was introduced as kind of like set commands that you could read in the text, a bit like HTML. Why are we always programming in HTML when we can imagine writing code in a proper HTML, like in a proper Microsoft Word style editor, where the code is displayed in terms that we want it to be displayed in, like display a math formula actually in maths, like where the numerator is above the denominator,
right?
Rather than having it on the numerator on the left and then a slash sign and then the denominator on the right. Like, why should we be forced into seeing it as a typewriter typed out? When we publish documents, we write the math in the way that it was meant to be written, in the most comprehensible way. We can't do that with code. We're forced into this very typewriter straitjacket, as though code has to be able to be typed on a typewriter.
Right, and you have all this mental overhead where you're trying to translate it, right?
Exactly. And eventually, you know, part of becoming a coder is kind of warping your mind so that, you know, in the like in the Matrix, I don't see the text anymore. I just see blonde redhead, right? It's kind of the same thing. It's like, you know, I don't really, as a seasoned coder, you don't really notice that you're only writing in a way that you could write on a typewriter. But as we get more and more expressive languages, it becomes increasingly important to be able to format this, to split apart, you know, kind of the formatting into something that you're very happy with, not like a one-size-fits-all, lowest common denominator typewriter style. So basically, this was the project. It was like the ability to create a what we call a domain-specific language, but not just a domain-specific language is, this is the kind of thing I want to write. This is the domain kind of thing I want to write. I will make a language that makes it easier to write that kind of thing. So if my domain is, let's say, something that is very matrix heavy, So these grids of numbers, and you can multiply them with each other. And I don't know, it's very useful in certain things, like certain branches of maths. Then that should be it should be possible to write things in kind of math, in native kind of matrix math. There should be a way of developing the base language to have this new kind of expressibility that really helps me say what I want to say.
To extend the metaphor a bit, maybe it's like programming slang or a programming accent.
Yeah, programming dialect. Yeah,
dialect. Exactly. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. This is kind of what I was working on for, I don't know, a year or so.
Gotcha.
Maybe 2. It was a long time.